Good morning, Year 7, and welcome to your first lesson of this week, which is now number 7, and we're on week 3 of home learning. So our title today is Napoleon's Leadership, and our learning objective is to analyse and explain how George Orwell, who wrote Animal Farm, presents Napoleon. Okay, so we've got some new learning here, a little bit of context, and I'm going to go through this, and then I'd like you to pause and write down these notes on a bit of paper or in your book, if you have your book at home. So what is a cult of personality? You may have heard of those words before, but it's got quite a specific meaning. So to solidify, make solid their leadership, many dictators, a dictator is someone who has total power, so they're not voted in, they take power and they keep it. Many dictators project a perfected image of themselves to the world to encourage their people to worship their image unthinkingly. So to make their leadership stronger, some people project this perfect idea of themselves, and we call that a cult of personality. Now, it is also used by people who aren't dictators, and it can be used for potentially positive reasons. But we're going to look at it in the context of dictators, because Animal Farm is all about Stalin's leadership of Russia. And of course, he's a very famous dictator. To achieve this cult of personality, a leader must use propaganda. Now, these are usually lies, but we should also say that they are spread by mass media. So that will be things like newspapers, huge billboards and posters, radio broadcasts, television, film, any means of spreading that idea widely. The effect is that their public persona, so that is how the public see them as a person, comes to represent wider ideas. And that's ideas like animalism, or ideas like freedom, or perhaps ideas like victory. It makes it hard to remove these leaders without seeming to attack these ideas. So Napoleon makes himself such an important figure on the farm that you couldn't get rid of him without feeling like you're getting rid of animalism. So underneath, I've got some pictures. Oh, pause there. Pause here and make a note of those 4 bullet points, please. Okay, and let's have a look at these images. And if you've got someone there with you, you can have a little discussion. I'm going to talk to you now about how these people want to be seen or remembered. Now, these are all dictators from the past. So we've got Niyazov, a Soviet dictator in Turkmenistan. This, of course, is Stalin, because lovely, adoring people looking up at him, and he's looking very kind and friendly, wearing very ordinary clothing, very plain, to show he's one of the people. And we've got Mao Zedong, who is a dictator of the People's Republic of China, which was formerly perhaps as communist as Russia, but now has adapted like Russia has and adopted capitalism. We've got another picture of Mao Zedong here. Notice the bland clothes they're wearing. They want to seem really of the people, because that's what communism is all about. And yet, these people also want to be thought of as really powerful. Look at how they dominate each image. They're the biggest person. In this one, he's literally the sun. He's got this golden glowing sun around him. And in this one down here, this is Kim Il-sung, who's a dictator in North Korea. Not the current one, generation back. So on the one hand, they want to seem normal, but also really powerful, fatherly, sort of kind, friendly. Maybe not this guy, because he looks like he's made of solid gold. Definitely special, perfect. And what about over here? This is Muammar Gaddafi, who is a dictator of Libya. He's been deposed and isn't alive anymore, but he had this statue put up, and it's a fist crushing an American missile, and that's an image that was important for him to project, which is that he's so much more powerful than his enemies that he would crush them with his fist. And this one, you can actually see the people looking adoringly up at Kim Il-sung because they love him. That's the idea. So the cult of personality, like we said up here, it's all about solidifying the leadership. You project images like this as widely as you can, and you make sure that people are discussing you in a way that matches the narrative you want to project. And that's exactly what we see happening in, I think, chapter 8 of Animal Farm. So attached to this, you'll find this document, okay, which is got a series of quotations that I picked out from chapter 8, but they're all about the Napoleon's leadership, and they link to this idea of a cult of personality. So I've picked out 8 features of his leadership, from the dogs that follow him down to a picture painted of him, which might make more sense in light of the portraits we've just looked at. And for each one, what you've got to have a go at is explaining a key word from the quotation and why it matters to Napoleon. How does it make him look? So I'll just go through one with you. This one, when he did appear, this is Napoleon, he was attended not only by his retinue of dogs, and also that he had 2 dogs to wait upon him. Now, we know that the dogs are actually a little bit like the secret police, and they growl when they hear something they don't like, but actually it's also about just power. So I put here a retinue. So I picked out a keyword and I looked it up. A retinue is a group of people who follow an important person. So Napoleon wouldn't have a retinue unless he was important, and he had a retinue to look important. So I said this shows he is powerful. Okay. Now what I'd like you to do now is have a look at this extract. If you can't print it out, what I would suggest you do is make sure you've got it visible on screen, number these, and if you, instead of writing a quote, just write dogs, and then I'd like you to make your explanation next to that, and make sure you notice that down, but you don't have to worry about writing out the quote. Save yourself the time. If you can print it off. In the next video, I will go over the answers.